Explanations of mental illness. So what is a mental illness? Harmful behavior, any behavior where a person does not have the motivation to protect their own life or attempts to take their own life or tries to harm themselves or others, can be considered a mental illness. Unrealistic thoughts and perceptions, such as delusions and hallucinations, can be a sign of mental illness. And inappropriate emotions, when a person is displaying emotions that are not consistent with what is happening at the time, like laughing at a sad funeral or crying during a comedy. Unpredictable behavior can also be a sign of mental illness, and this is when a person decides not to follow the social norms of the society they are living in, or if they are unable to follow those social norms, they don't know that they're doing anything wrong. Early explanations for these mental illnesses can be put into 3 different categories: biological, psychological, and supernatural. Biological explanation says that the body, usually the brain, is malfunctioning in some way to cause certain diseases. Mental illness is usually inherited, according to the biological explanation, and people can have a predisposition to certain illnesses, and an experience in life could trigger these dormant genes and cause the mental illness to come out. Mental illness can be caused by other physical factors, such as a brain injury, a brain tumor, eating the wrong foods, or even too much stress on the body can cause a mental illness. Hippocrates was one of the first to suggest that the brain was the source of mental illnesses. He suggested that abnormalities came from the brain getting too hot or cold or dry or too moist. The therapy he prescribed was changing your diet or taking a bath or getting some fresh air. Egyptians also used natural treatments such as herbal remedies, baths, and massage to treat mental illnesses. Psychological explanations suggest that abnormal behavior is caused by psychological events such as anxiety, fear, grief, frustration, and guilt. The pressures and stress of life in an organized society can be used to explain certain mental illnesses. And it's also been suggested that biological and psychological events can have a cause and effect on each other. Treatments for these psychological events include analyzing a person's dream, their thoughts, their motives, receiving treatment and support and reassurance from loved ones, or being taught how to deal with their strong emotions. Also, creating a catharsis, which is releasing strong emotions from the mind, could help treat some of these psychological events. The 18th century, there was a belief of natural law, called natural law, which is the belief that a person gets what they deserve out of life. So if a person was drinking too much or gambling too much or too promiscuous, and they got a mental illness or a disease, they got what they deserve. They deserve this because of their behavior. And the only way to treat these issues, these mental issues, was to change their behavior. They usually did this with the help of a therapist. Supernatural explanation is mental and physical problems are caused by supernatural beings entering the body. To treat this, they usually tried to bribe or intimidate the supernatural forces, and they used exorcisms and incantations to try and remove the evil forces from the infected person. They also did bloodletting, and they even tried to remove parts of the person's skull to release the demons and the evil forces. They would drill holes in their brain and try and get the evil forces out. Witchcraft was also to blame for some of the physical and mental disorders. People with mental illnesses back then were considered bewitched by the witches, and they were locked up in lunatic asylums. They were beaten, chained to the wall, and sometimes taken out to the public to be humiliated. The public would pay to see them. They were hardly even fed. They only got enough food to keep them alive, and they were just treated horribly. Fortunately, today, we know a lot more about these mental illnesses and how to treat them, and people are treated much better than they were back then.